Sup, everyone. Welcome to the Thanksgiving episode of the Flea Flicker. We got Joey D over there, and I'm Timmy B, boy Joey D. It felt good to be back in the recording, felt good to be back making picks, and it felt pretty good that we had a pretty decent week. You went 10-5, and I went 9-6, but how are you doing today, Joe? And happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Tim. Same to you. I am
Thank you.
doing great. It was a fantastic football weekend for myself
Oof.
personally. Almost
Cox,
everything went
baby.
according to plan. The Gamecocks won. The Eagles won. All four of my fantasy teams won. The
Hey.
Cowboys lost. Now, I was so close to pulling it all off. I needed Clemson to lose. I needed the Colts and the Dolphins to lose to help the Eagles' positioning. If all that had happened in one weekend, I would be out there buying a lottery ticket, Tim, because I'm still feeling good after all of it. But we were close. We were close. Whenever that does happen, I will get a lottery ticket and I
Hey.
will open it on the Flea Flicker.
Hey, I feel pretty good as well. The Ravens won with the backup quarterback, came from behind. Defense still needs a little bit of issues. We'll talk about that when we pick our games. But man, it was a great week. We got a jam-packed episode today. So make sure if you are watching this or listening to this, whether it's before Thanksgiving or after, hit that thumbs up button to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And Joey D, let's just hop right into the week 11 recap. We're not going to go game by game, but we had a couple of big things and a couple of big news so far on this Tuesday when we're recording. So to start off, we had two very surprising upsets in the NFL. The Colts go on the road to the Bills and just dominate. Jonathan Taylor, 5 touchdowns, and was basically the reason why they won that football game. I mean, Carson Wentz had only 100 yards passing on like 8 completions. And then again in the AFC South, the Houston Texans go on the road at the Tennessee Titans, force 5 turnovers, get outgained basically like 450 to like 180, but pull off the upset in Tennessee. So, Joe, this is a huge for the AFC playoff picture because last couple of weeks we've been saying, all right, it's going to Titans Bills are 1-2. They're beating everybody. They're dominating. I mean, yes, the Bills did lose to the Jaguars, but what was your take from these games, Joe? And I guess like what are your thoughts on this AFC playoff picture right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the Bills and Titans. I mean,
Mhm.
my biggest concern with the Bills is that they're just such a one-dimensional team. They
Mhm.
have no run game to really speak of, and when Josh Allen is off his game, I mean, we've
Mhm.
seen Josh Allen. The highs and lows of Josh Allen. They're very wide. It
Mhm.
can be a 5 touchdown game or a 5 interception game, and he was definitely on the lower end this week. I mean, the defense could not stop Jonathan Taylor at all.
Mhm.
This is definitely concerning when you think about what good teams are able to do in the playoffs. They're able to run the ball and they're able to play good defense. And when you have an elite quarterback as well, that obviously helps. But if you're one dimensional and your defense is allowing points and you're putting all that pressure on your offense to keep pace, there's going to be mistakes that happen. And the Bills just continued spiraling and making mistakes while the Colts just played very smart. Give it to
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor. 5 touchdowns in one game, Tim.
5.
50 points in fantasy. I am so glad I did not play against him anywhere because I do not have him in a single league. Um, so I mean, I was shocked by what I saw. I really thought that Buffalo was gonna
Yeah,
make it a good game.
and going off with that, I even said that in the preview too. I have the Bills in the Super Bowl. That was my preseason prediction, but I kept saying it's that run game, that run game. They made no adjustments in the offseason, and they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. They lost to them in the Titans in the regular season. So, to my eyes, the front office really didn't do anything to improve their team. It's basically the same team that we saw last year. And we saw last
Right.
offseason, they got Stephon Diggs, and we saw how big of an upgrade that was. And they just stayed put with offensive line, with the running game. And also, as well, Joe, they only called 8 running plays designed for the running backs. Now, of course, I get it when you're down 31 nothing, but when it's 7 nothing, 14 nothing with that Bills offense, you can still run the football and move. And that's how they're successful is to run the ball, keep everybody on their toes, and then open it up in the pass game. And you can't do that if you're only running 8 times. Again, once you're down 30 points, absolutely throw the ball. But when it's 7 nothing, you don't need to abandon the run, or even 14 nothing. You don't need to abandon the run. Continue to run the football, continue to keep the defense on their toes. But yeah, that was my big takeaway. And of course, Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in the NFL right now without Derrick Henry. And Joe, Derrick Henry-less Titans haven't looked that great. And yes, we do look at the Rams win, and we do look at a couple of their other wins, but that Rams game, they basically had 2 pick-sixes back to back in the first quarter to make it 14-0. And even after that, they didn't look that fantastic. So yes, the Titans were winning games. They beat the Rams, and they, had another win last week. But without Derrick Henry, this team is yeesh, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Tannehill has had a couple good years in Tennessee, and I think
Mhm.
people have, kind of forgotten what he looked like in Miami when there wasn't a lot of talent there
And Adam
around him. I
Gase.
mean, and Adam Gase, obviously. I mean, no Adam Gase now, but without that run game for him to rely on and open up the play action, and he's expected to do so much more right now, and that's a tough task for Ryan Tannehill. So, I mean, I still think he's a good, fine quarterback, but ultimately, I think it comes down to: are you a quarterback you can win with, or are you a quarterback that you win because of?
Yeah.
And or are you a quarterback that you just can't win? Daniel Jones. So I just feel like at the end of the day, let's not do this. This guy's elite. This guy's really good.
Mhm.
This guy's pretty good. Are they quarterbacks that you're winning because you have that quarterback, or because you have a great team and they're
Yeah.
managing the game? I mean, Ryan
Julio Jones
Tannehill
still
seems like
injured. AJ Brown left with an injury.
exactly.
He came back and did very well. And I think another big thing is Jonnu Smith was a huge part of that offense. Run with Derrick Henry, open it up and play action. Jonnu Smith in the middle of the field. So losing him and not really having a solid tight end, that's also a huge loss for this Tennessee offense. But yeah, that was brutal, Joe. And the Texans, they got the turnovers, 4 interceptions from Ryan Tannehill, but do you think the Colts can still overtake the Titans, Joe, or is this just a game where the Titans laid an egg? What are your thoughts on that, as well as the rest of the AFC?
It's definitely concerning for the Titans. I mean,
Mhm.
I would have to look at both of their schedules a little bit more to see, kind of how I see it going. But I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're the Titans and you can lose to the Texans, you can lose to absolutely anybody. Now, granted, we've seen them beat some really good teams as well, so
Mhm.
you never know what can happen. I mean, that's the nature of football. But right now without Derrick Henry, like the Titans lost their identity on
Mhm.
offense, and it seems like the Colts have kind of stolen it and been
Yeah.
like, no Derrick Henry for you, Jonathan Taylor. He's the new Derrick Henry. And it's working well for the Colts and working well for Carson Wentz. I mean, hey, if he wants to be a game manager and we get a first round pick for that, I'm totally fine with that. But once again, quarterback that you win with, not because of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So definitely concerning in the AFC, and then in the NFC, not too much happened, or at least nothing crazy like the Colts win or the Texans win. The Vikings did beat the Packers at the last second, a very fun game to watch. I won't mention the name of the wide receiver who had a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns, Joe. But the Vikings beat the Packers. Packers still have a 2 game lead on the Vikings, so nothing too crazy. And then the Seahawks lost to the Cardinals after Colt McCoy is now 3-0 in Seattle as the Browns backup. He won with the Giants last year and now with
Yeah.
the Cardinals. So he's 3-0. The Cardinals solidify their dominance in the NFC West, 6-0 on the road as well. Eagles got a huge win against the Saints in a dominating fashion. The football team beat the Panthers as well. So that only helps the Eagles' playoff chances. And the Bears lost, the Giants lost, the Cowboys lost. So really, the Eagles came out as a big winner, and same for the Cardinals. Yes, we did see them be pretty bad last week, but hey, seems like Colt McCoy is very good on the road, specifically in Seattle. So, Joe, what were your thoughts from the past weekend of the NFC? And I guess as an Eagles fan, you got to be pretty excited right now, my friend.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it, for the short term, Tim. I mean, the Eagles have been running the ball down teams' throats the last 3 weeks. This Saints defense was number one against the run, and we went for over 200 yards on them. I mean, absolute dominance by the offensive line. Jalen Hurts making a bunch of moves, scoring 3 touchdowns in this game. First Eagles quarterback ever to score 3 touchdowns in one game. He really does bring a lot to the table that, other quarterbacks can't. Very Lamar Jackson esque in a lot of ways. And I really like what I'm seeing from Nick Sirianni. Just play to your team's strengths and, just get everybody bought in. I just kind of worry about the long-term sustainability of this run game and this offense. I mean, what happens when the run game does not work and we get down early and we have to pass? What happens when we go to the playoffs and we face a really good defense and, they force you to win with Jalen Hurts and his arm. So that's kind of my concern. And, not to not I hope I don't mean this as a slight to the Ravens or Lamar in any way, Tim. You look at the Ravens offense the last couple of years, dominant during the regular season and
Mhm.
able to get over the hump in the playoffs. So that with a poor man's one game isn't there.
Yes.
So that's kind of my concern long term for the Eagles. But I mean, we've got such an easy slate of games coming up. We're getting hot right now, and you want to get hot in November and December. That's the right
Mhm.
time to really get going. So I'm excited to see what happens, and just continue to kind of assess the growth of Jalen Hurts. But I'm starting to lean more towards him coming back next year as the guy, Tim. So we'll see what happens there. But then with I got to give Kirk Cousins some props, man. I
Yeah.
rag on him a lot. He went out there and he beat Aaron Rodgers. It was a hell of a game. Packers defense, come on. Don't allow that many points to Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. But it was a great game and a big win for Kirk Cousins, who has stepped up when he plays Aaron Rodgers. Now has a winning record against him.
Yeah.
And then with the Cardinals and the Seahawks, man, I think it speaks more to how poor the Seahawks are right now and what a bad direction they're going in. I mean, what was their record last year? Like 10-6, 11
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and five.
they
And
were a playoff team
yeah,
last year.
yeah, and Russell Wilson wanted out after that. What is he going to think this offseason? They're 3-7 right now, so it's a very tough situation for Seattle. I think that this is going to be a dramatic offseason. A lot of changes coming to the Seattle Seahawks, but great win for the Cardinals. They are starting to gain, I think, people's more trust now. Cliff Kingsbury
Mhm.
finding ways to win with Colt McCoy without DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. Very impressive stuff. And they definitely seem, as of right now, I guess, like the class of the NFC. But it's so hard to say with both the NFC and AFC. There's no one dominant team
Mhm.
that I can definitively say this is the team that I really think is going to go to the Super Bowl, because everyone has questions. Everyone has bad losses to someone, and it's a cluster this year, Tim.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you said it with the Seahawks as well. It's going to be a very interesting offseason. I mean, they went 12-4 last year. They won the division and lost the wild card games. And now you're looking at 3-7. And they have the Cardinals again. I think they played the 49ers and Rams again as well. So they got some easier games on the schedule, but now we'll pick that game at the end of this episode because they play Monday Night Football, but at Washington. So going across the country on Monday Night Football, this is not going to be easy for the Seattle Seahawks. But moving on, Joe, we do have a couple of news that will kind of mix into our game picks and everything like that. Coaching news. But the big news, I guess, in terms of player personnel, aside from Joe Flacco and Mike White getting put on the COVID list, is that the Titans released and waived running back Adrian Peterson that they just signed a couple of weeks ago after the Derrick Henry injury. So, Joe, what are kind of your thoughts on that? And do you think it was more of a failed experiment or kind of like a Ravens and Le'Veon Bell situation where you try him out and then it just, not saying a failed experiment, but being like, hey, like, we thought you were going to electrify our offense. You didn't. We're fine with Jeremy McNichols and some of the other guys on the team. So, what were your thoughts on the Titans waiving Adrian Peterson?
I feel like the Titans are just trying to find some running back that can work for them.
Hmm.
I believe Jeremy McNichols was actually a healthy scratch this past week.
Mm.
Um, and some Hillard, maybe Dontrell Hillard, I want to say was the running back who got a lot of the passing work in this past game. Um,
Yeah,
are you looking
Adrian
it up right now?
Peterson, 9 for 40. Dontrell Hillard, 7 carries. Donta Foreman, 7 carries. But yeah, Jerry McNichols, a healthy scratch for sure. But in the passing game, Dontrell Hillard, 8 receptions. So it seems like that might be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, and again, they were down a lot and, kind of put in a lot of passing situations, so I get it, but I mean, I think that this more speaks to Adrian Peterson's got to be washed at this point. I
Mhm.
mean, this is a Titans team that is desperate for any injection of talent and some sort of spark at the running back position. And AP just was not able to bring that in these past couple games and in practices. And they let him go. So it's a tough situation for the Titans. Like who are you going to bring in
Yeah.
instead? I just don't really know what their game plan is here. I mean, we're past the trade deadline. Ravens signed all of the veteran running backs already. Um, you know, I felt like Adrian Peterson was the best option, so I'm very surprised that they just up and caught him today, especially when they're still competing for this playoffs seeding and spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big thing too as well is that I think Adrian Peterson, I think he still has some stuff in the tank, but you just can't throw him in week 10 of the NFL season and expect him to be like Adrian Peterson if he was in training camp all year long. And that's kind of why the Ravens released Le'Veon Bell and we're sticking with Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray is that they were in training camps. They were practicing in the offseason with the team, played a couple of preseason games, and then didn't work out with Devonta Freeman with the Giants. Thank God. I mean, could you imagine being there with them? And then Latavius
Yikes.
Murray was just kind of like a salary casualty with the Saints. So that's kind of why we're sticking with those two guys as opposed to keeping Le'Veon Bell. And I would imagine a very similar thing with Adrian Peterson. But we got some coaching news. We'll talk about that in our games show. But are you ready to pick some Thanksgiving football and the rest of Week 12?
I can't wait, Tim. This Thanksgiving slate is not super exciting, unfortunately, but we'll get through it.
We'll get through it indeed. The first game of the day, Joe, is boy, is it a fun one. We got the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. The Bears are currently a 3-point road favorite. The over-under is 41 and a half. Want to let everybody know we're recording this on Tuesday, so the lines might change, especially for the weekend game. So bet with your own caution. But Bears, a 3-point road favorite. The over-under is 41 and a half, Joe. Andy Dalton versus Tim Boyle, who kind of almost beat
I
the Browns.
I think Dan Campbell said that Jared Goff is trending towards playing this week.
Either way, it's still Andy Dalton versus Tim
It's not
Boyle
great.
or Jared Goff. And then the news from Chicago is saying that Matt Nagy, there's a rumor going around that this is his last game no matter what. And I was texting you, Joe, I don't get why you would say, we're going to fire you, but coach this game on Thursday on Thanksgiving. I'd be like, just fire me now. But again, with the short week and everything, I can get that. So, Joe, your thoughts on this maybe being Matt Nagy's last game and thoughts on the game and who's your pick?
Yeah, I think it definitely should be Matt Nagy's last game if it's not already. I mean, I think it should have been probably a while ago. I mean, this is a guy that's had an opportunity to develop multiple first round quarterbacks, and all of them have not looked good. Mitch Trubisky
Mhm.
and Justin Fields. I mean, Andy Dalton's coming out here and outplaying Justin Fields. How is that possible? Is it? It doesn't make sense to me that this coaching staff can formulate a good game plan around Andy Dalton, but they can't formulate one around Justin Fields. Like it's just there's so much bad stuff going on in
Mhm.
Chicago, and I think that they've kind of set themselves back for a while. When they made this Justin Fields selection, we talked about how, at least in my opinion, it seemed kind of like a panic move for Nagy and Ryan Pace to try to buy themselves some more time. I mean, they were able to, uh, you know, they traded up, they invested draft picks in
Mhm.
this guy, and now it's not if it's not going to work out with Nagy, now you're going to bring in someone new, and they either have to make it work with Justin Fields, or they're going to be like, I mean, he's not my guy. I'd like to get my guy in the draft, and you just wasted multiple picks to trade up and take Justin
Mhm.
Fields. So, real bad situation here. I mean, if you're going to allow the GM and head coach to make a trade like that, you shouldn't fire him midway
Yeah.
through the rookie season. So I just think from the ownership down, it's a very bad situation in Chicago. For that reason, Tim, I'm taking the Detroit Lions to win this week against the
Oh!
Chicago Bears. Dan Campbell gets his first win, and he's going to bite Matt Nagy's kneecap off like it's a Thanksgiving turkey leg.
Yeah, Joe, it's definitely interesting, and I think once they do fire him, they got to get a guy who's ready for Justin Fields. And I think that the Bears are smart enough, hopefully smart enough, that they get a guy and not what you were just saying and getting a new quarterback, because we've seen the talent of Justin Fields. We've seen him make some amazing plays. We've seen him develop a little bit. And yeah, I don't know what happened as a Raven. Well, Andy Dalton against the Ravens defense. Somehow he always finds a way to be very good. But yeah, we were really containing Justin Fields. They weren't moving the ball at all. And then Andy Dalton gets in, and then we were like, oh, Andy Dalton can throw. Ravens secondary is not that great right now, so let's throw the ball. And they were pretty successful with it. We also missed a couple of tackles, as we always do, to allow a big play. So I think at the end of the day, Joe, I got to go with the Chicago Bears. I don't like picking the Bears. I wouldn't like picking the Lions either, but we got to pick somebody because that's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Chicago Bears. I think
the Bears are the more talented team.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it comes down to the Andy Dalton veteran experience. Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson should be back. David Montgomery. This Lions team is bad, Joe. Now the Bears team is also bad. I just got to go with the Bears in this one. And so finally, we're apart from each other on a nice Thanksgiving game, Joe. But enough about the Bears and the Lions. That's a stinker. Now to a game that's a little bit more respectable. I'll say that. We have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Dallas Cowboys. Currently, the Cowboys are a 7.5-point favorite. The over-under is 50.5. Cowboys are a little banged up. CeeDee Lamb still in concussion protocol. We'll see if he can play. I think signs are pointing toward not playing because I have him in a couple of leagues. But the Raiders are coming in on a 3-game losing streak, Joe. They're not scoring a lot of points anymore. I think the magic of Rich Bisaccia as the interim head coach has kind of gone away, Joe. But Raiders, Cowboys, you need the Cowboys to lose. You would like the Cowboys to lose, but are they going to lose?
Tim, yes, they are.
Oh!
Derek Carr is about to go and just embarrass the Cowboys in their own house on Thanksgiving. No Amari Cooper, probably not CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup just came back from injury. Ezekiel Elliott is banged up. Dak Prescott's coming off a terrible game. I mean, we've talked all year about how bad this Chiefs defense is and how good supposedly this Cowboys offense is supposed to be. And they only could muster 9 points against this Chiefs defense. No touchdowns, 3 field goals, multiple turnovers for Dak. Just a cluster all around. Cowboys implosion is in route, Tim, and I am here for it. Give me the Raiders. Derek Carr to Brian, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's going to make Trayvon Diggs look like an idiot on Thanksgiving, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, Joe, and it's interesting because, like, the Raiders look like a very good pick to me because the Cowboys generally are not good on Thanksgiving. They've lost to the Bills a couple of years ago, losing to teams like the football team, and they have lost some games beforehand, Joe, on Thanksgiving. Sorry about those technical difficulties, folks. Joey D got a call from a family member for some Thanksgiving plans. But as I was saying, Joe, Cowboys historically not that great at home on Thanksgiving, but that is when all signs are pointing toward the Cowboys winning this game. All signs are pointing to them winning as well. But with all of their injuries and everything, I'm going with the Cowboys. I'm going against you, Joe, again for this one. So got to make up some games somehow. So I like the Cowboys in this one. Haven't really seen anything from the Raiders in the last little bit of time. So going with the Cowboys in this one. And now the night slate. At the beginning of the year, when the schedule came out, we were like,
I guess is that my upset pick, Tim?
Do you want that to be your upset
That's pick? An upset pick, right?
All right, we're going.
I think so. I mean, seven points. Like, yeah, that's a pretty big underdog.
All right, well, let's that's your upset of the week then, Joe. I still need to figure out mine. But the night slate, and as I was saying, when the schedule came out, we were kind of like, all right, yeah, pretty good game. Bills are kind of saucing the last couple of weeks, except for their game against the Jets. We don't have Jameis Winston anymore. We got Trevor Siemian, maybe Alvin Kamara. So we got the Bills at the Saints. Bills are a 5.5-point road favorite. The over-under right now is 45.5. Joe, thoughts on this Thursday night football game? Who do you got? Can the Bills bounce back, or will the Saints have the home field advantage to dominate?
I think that the Bills should be able to bounce back. I mean, this I feel like the matchups favored the Bills well in this game. The the Saints run defense is
Mhm.
supposed to be really good, but
Right.
the Eagles kind of exposed that. So luckily the Bills don't run the ball. So, no problem there. Um, they'll be able to pass all over the Saints, and the Saints offense just isn't going to be able to keep pace. I mean, Trevor Simeon was not good against the Eagles. Had a couple garbage time plays, but when they needed drives, he wasn't able to get it going. I mean, this Saints offense is
Mhm.
without Alvin Kamara, it's devoid of talent. So yeah, I'm just not gonna. I'm not picking the Saints pretty much against anyone unless it's also a really bad quarterback that they're going against.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going with the Bills as well. I do think that they bounce back, and they need to because they have a very tough December two matchups with the Patriots, and I haven't seen enough from the Saints yet. If Alvin Kamara plays, I can see this being a nice, fun game to watch. Could be a close game coming down to the end. At the end of the day, I'm going with the Bills just a little bit more. I think X factor in this game is to watch for is Dawson Knox. I think Lattimore or whoever is on Stephon Diggs can contain him pretty well. So it might come down to Dawson Knox and some of Emmanuel Sanders as well. Kind of he was on the Saints at one point, right? Kind of a revenge game for
It
Emmanuel
was, I think,
Sanders.
just yeah. Was it just last year?
I believe probably, yeah. So revenge game, Emmanuel Sanders. We're both going with the Bills, Joe. Now it's time to move to Sunday, and we got two teams that have beaten the Tennessee Titans. We got the New York Jets and the Houston Texans, Joe. It's week 12. It's the 2021 NFL season. I never thought I would say these words, but the Houston Texans are favored in a football game this year. They are a 2.5 point home favorite. The over under is 44 and a half. No Mike White, no eliteness from Joe Flacco. Both got placed on the reserved COVID list today. Zach Wilson should be in line to play, but is that going to be enough for the Jets team, Joe, or the Texans going to ride that momentum from the Titans win to a victory?
I feel like I got to go with the Texans in this, Tim. I mean,
But you predicted no wins for them.
I predicted no wins, and they've gotten two already. So I'm an idiot, and I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I think I'm going to take the Texans because I mean they've shown more fight and the ability to finish some games. While I just haven't seen that from this Jets team and Robert Saleh. So they, I mean, Elijah Moore has been playing well. That's cool, but no Michael Carter.
Yeah, huge injury to my fantasy
Yeah,
teams.
it's devastating, Tim. I've tried to pick him up everywhere and wasn't able to get him. So this week I'm on the Ty Johnson waiver claim train.
Ooh,
Um, so we'll see what happens there tomorrow. But I mean, like, it's two bad teams going against each other. It could go either way, Tim. I mean, if the bad Texans show up and Elijah Moore goes off, then sure, Jets can pull it off. I mean, I think it's a toss-up, Tim. I'm just going to take the team that I've actually seen get some wins this year that are solid wins.
yeah, I'm going to go with the Texans as well. If Joe Flacco was the quarterback, of course, I'd be going with the Jets, but that's not the
Of
case.
course.
He did have 290 yards, 2 touchdowns, and if the left tackle knew how to block, he wouldn't have turned the ball over. So that could have been 3 touchdowns and 300 yards, but that's beside the point. I think a key thing is the Texans' defense is very good at forcing turnovers. They forced a lot of turnovers this past Sunday, potentially going up against Zach Wilson, who has thrown some interceptions from time to time. So I think it might come down to that. I like the Texans' defense a little bit more. So I'm going with the Texans as well. But moving on, bad game. Well, we're going
Tim,
from.
real quick, I just remembered something. Texans just cut Philip Lindsay, I
Yeah,
believe, today. And
he
who
was
are we
bad.
just talking about earlier that still needs a running back, and they just cut Adrian Peterson?
The Titans could use Philip Lindsay, but he's been having a
I don't
bad,
know.
bad year, Joe. He's been having a pretty
Yeah,
bad year.
but I feel like I mean, if you're in Houston, you're going to have a bad year unless you're DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So we'll see. There's a couple of running backs in the market coming in December, and as we've said before, come January, February, you got to run the ball and play defense. So getting that depth there is key for some of these teams who might be interested in adding Adrian Peterson or Philip Lindsay. And now we're moving from two bad teams to another two bad teams in the South. We have the Atlanta Falcons on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, the Falcons are only a 0.5 point favorite. So right now, kind of a pick 'em. Over under is 46 and a half. Joe, can the Falcons bounce back on a little bit longer rest playing on Thursday Night Football to beat the Jaguars? Or could this be one of the Jaguars' like 3 wins this year?
This is another tough one, Tim. I'm not really sure what to
Yeah.
do here, but I think I'm going to go with the Falcons.
Okay.
Um, I mean, Matt Ryan, the veteran quarterback. I trust him. I haven't seen enough out of Trevor yet this year. Urban Meyer hasn't shown me enough. This is
Yeah.
so tough. I'm gonna go with the Falcons, Tim. Kyle Pitts, big game. Um, it's just tough. Like the Jags, we thought that with when ETN went down, maybe Robinson, kind of reclaims that RB1 role, and he's gotten the touches, or I guess as the RB1, but just isn't producing like he did last year. So I mean, they don't have a great run game to speak of. And Trevor has turned the ball over a decent bit this year, and they're without their most electric player now, Jamal Agnew, going
Yeah.
on injured reserve. This guy going from cornerback to kick returner to wide receiver and making plays left and right makes you think the Eagles should put Darius Slay on offense with all the touchdowns he's scoring this year. Hey, Darius Slay, more touchdowns than all of the Giants wide receivers. So
Hey.
shout out James Taylor. But it's so tough, Tim. I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I just can't really trust the Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with the Falcons. I think the key is Arthur Smith coming from Tennessee, playing Jacksonville twice a year. So not saying he knows the same coaching system or anything like that because it's a new coach in Jacksonville, but he'll know how to block or contain Josh Allen. He'll know how to kind of get around some of the players that he's been coaching against the last couple of years. And at the end of the day, I'm going with the more veteran team with Matt Ryan and some of their offensive playmakers. I'm going with the Falcons. Don't feel good about that, but now we're moving on to games that are a little bit better. So we're starting off with the Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. Panthers are currently a 1.5-point favorite. The over-under is 42.5. And Joe, Dolphins playing some good ball recently. They're 4-7. Their next 3 games are the Panthers at home, the Giants at home, the Jets at home. So they win these 3 games. They're 7-7 going into the final couple of games of the season for a potential playoff push. And we're starting to see the Dolphins actually kind of play like we expected them to, with a solid defense. Tua doing just enough, but will that be enough against Christian McCaffrey and the Carolina Panthers?
Tim, I don't think it will. I do not like this upcoming schedule for the Dolphins. This is not favorable for the Eagles draft pick that they own. I'm going to go with the Panthers in this game. Dolphins who they just beat? It was like, who was it, Tim? You know who it was.
The Miami Dolphins just beat the New York Jets and Joe Flacco.
There we go. Yeah. So, I mean, they're not beating really anyone good. I haven't seen it yet.
They beat the Ravens, Joe.
Again, they haven't beat anyone good, Tim.
They beat the Patriots.
I'm just kidding.
And the Texans.
They beat the Patriots in, their first or second week when Mac Jones was still, getting it going. And, I mean, yeah, I think that the Panthers are going to be able to pull this off. They're more talented. That defense is pretty good, and this Dolphins offense has been so inconsistent this year. I just don't think that their offense is going to be able to move the ball very much. So their defense is going to have to force some takeaways, score some points on their own. This year, they haven't been doing that. I can't bank on that as a fan that, the Dolphins defense is going to outscore the Panthers offense. And that's kind of where I'm at in this game. So, yeah, give me the Panthers. Let's go. Keep pounding, baby. Shout out Alex Fabergat. Happy Thanksgiving, my brother.
I'm going with the Dolphins, Joe. I don't like it, but I'm going with the Dolphins in this one. I think and it pains me this because you can go back and I really was thinking about picking the football team on Sunday, but I was like, I'll believe in Cam Newton. I think we're getting in our heads a little bit. We're like, oh, Cam Newton's back. It's kind of like, okay, well, hold on. He got cut for a reason. He didn't play for a reason. So I'm going with the Dolphins in this one. I think they are bouncing back, Joe. I do like the Dolphins. I like their defense. It's going to be an ugly game again. Joe Flacco would have beaten them last week, and he almost did, but he didn't. But I just got to go with the Dolphins, man. I just got to. Don't like it at all, but I'm going with the Dolphins. And you just mentioned it with Darius Slay, Joe. We got your Philadelphia Eagles on the road at the New York Giants. Back-to-back weeks, you guys will be playing in the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium. The Eagles are currently a 3.5-point road favorite. The over-under is 46. I know, aside from just you being an Eagles fan, we got James Taylor, we got Eric Story, we got a bunch of other Giants fans listening and watching, Joe, that you know and pretty good friends with. So you got a lot more than just hoping the Eagles win in this game. You got some friendships and some rivalries outside of the game itself. So I'll let you talk. Eagles, Giants. What are your thoughts on this game? Who's your pick? Freddie Kitchens is now the play caller. Jason Garrett is gone. We have Freddie Kitchens calling the plays for the Giants now. Does that help him, Joe? Or is this going to be another, 18-point victory for the Eagles?
It's addition by subtraction when you get rid of Jason Garrett, Tim. So definitely not good news for the Eagles that they chose to get rid of him right before we play, but it's not going to matter. This is my lock of the week, the Philadelphia Eagles over the New York Giants. Guess who got injured this past week against the Saints, Tim? Jordan Howard. He is doubtful for this game. So, yeah, we got Miles Sanders back. That's cool. Yeah, we drafted Kenny Gainwell in the 5th round, and he's been okay as a rookie. But there is a certain running back still on this Eagles roster that is a Giant killer. Ever since he's gotten his opportunity against the Giants, he goes off, and he's going to do it again. Yes, Tim, I am talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Boston Scott. If you have him, put him in your lineup. He's going off. This offensive line is dominating right now. It doesn't matter who we're going up against. It doesn't matter who's back there at running back. We're going to run the ball down your throats, and there's nothing you can do about it. James and Eric, get over it. Joe Judge, you suck. Stop being butthurt about last year when we threw that game on purpose to screw you over. I can't wait to embarrass them this week. And Joe Judge in his press conference, man, we really wanted this one after, they just disrespected the game like they did in the last game of the season last year. But we're just not a good team. We're just not playing well. And that starts with me. Shut up, Joe Judge. You suck. Your whole team sucks. God, I'm fired up, Tim. This Eagles team, I already said, Darius Slay has more touchdowns this season than all of the Giants wide receivers. You gave Kenny Galladay a big contract. You drafted Kadarius Toney. Come on. You still got Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram. None of these guys have more than 3 touchdowns, Tim. Oh, my God. Daniel Jones is your quarterback still? What are we doing here? Yeah, I'm not worried about this game at all, Tim. Eagles, historically, especially in the last decade, have dominated the Giants. And this particular Eagles team, they do well against inferior quarterbacks. That's when our defense is able to step up. Now, if it's a good quarterback or an above-average quarterback, they're going to throw for 90% completion and, we'll never get the ball. But if it's a bad quarterback like Daniel Jones, Trevor Siemian, because yes, James, yes, Sawyer, they're on the same level. Trevor Siemian and Daniel Jones, they're in the same tier. Get over it, buddy. So I'm not worried about this one. Give me the Eagles in an easy one and in a big win. We're going to embarrass the Giants. Happy Thanksgiving to all my Giants friends.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this short. I'm going with the Eagles as well. I think the Giants are bad. I think the Eagles are playing some good ball right now. I'm going with the Eagles. And now we're moving on to an AFC North matchup, which was a little bit of an upset back in week 3, week 4, week 5. We got the Steelers going on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are a 4.5-point home favorite. Over under is 45.5 when they played earlier in Pittsburgh. Cincinnati won, I believe it was 24-10. And that was kind of the awakening of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase being like, all right, like the Bengals could be a legit team this year. And then, of course, they went on the road to Baltimore to win. So huge 2 wins in the division for the Bengals early on. Joe, Steelers, Bengals. Steelers almost beat the Chargers. They had quite a comeback against the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Chargers did just enough. I like the Bengals too much, man. I like the Bengals team. I like this Bengals team. Steelers defense is still banged up a little bit. We still don't know about TJ Watt or some of the other playmakers. And then at the end of the day, I like the Bengals defense a little bit more against this Steelers offense. So I'm going with the Bengals. And you know what, Joe? This is my lock of the week. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals. Ooh. How about yourself, buddy? How about yourself? Steelers, Bengals, who you got?
Yeah, I'm also taking Cincinnati in this game. I really think that defense has been so underrated for the Bengals. I think they're going to do a good job at stopping Najee Harris and forcing Roethlisberger to win in the air. And we saw when they played the first time in Pittsburgh this year, he wasn't able to do that. So it's a good Steelers defense, and the Bengals were able to put up 24 and get the win the first time they played. And now, like you said, no TJ Watt. Probably no Minka Fitzpatrick. They don't even have Juju on offense like they did when they played earlier. So it's a worse Steelers team going up against a more confident Bengals team than they were at that time. Like you said, that was
Mhm.
their coming out party when everyone, I think, including the Bengals, were like, "Hey, we're here to party. We're legit."
Yeah.
And they're still feeling good about themselves coming off a big win this past week. I really think that the Bengals should be able to win this one pretty handily. And the Steelers downslide is just gonna continue going downhill. Timmy B.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bengals. That's my lock of the week. And now we got two more 1 o'clock games to get over. Some very good matchups. Now we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a 2.5 point road favorite at the Indianapolis Colts. The over under is 51.5. Bucks dominated on Monday Night Football against the Giants. Colts coming off that huge win in Buffalo. So it's going to come down to, can the Tampa Bay defense contain Jonathan Taylor, because he is in full beast mode right now. So Joey D, we got Tampa Bay at Indianapolis. Tampa Bay 2.5 point favorite. Who's your pick? What are your thoughts on this game?
Tim, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This
Okay.
Buccaneer defense, they sell out at stopping the run. Now, while they're not the top run defense in the NFL this year, they're still up there, and that is just their philosophy on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to force you to win through the air, especially when it's a quarterback like Carson Wentz. So I think that they're going to do everything they can to sell out. Don't let Jonathan Taylor beat you this game. They're getting a little bit healthier in the secondary. I think they'll be able to match up just fine against this pedestrian Colts receiving core. And then on the flip side, I mean, Tom Brady, he's not going to be making all of those mistakes that we saw Josh Allen just make. They're going to run the ball and have a more balanced approach. And I think that they're just the more talented team and um, the more veteran team. I mean, they've been here, they've done this. I mean, it's put up or shut up time for really both of these teams. But the Buccaneers, they know that they cannot afford another loss like this, especially in a very competitive NFC.
Yeah, no, I'm going with the Buccaneers
Bill,
as
can you turn
well.
the TV off? Sorry.
I think the big thing is they did get a Sean Murphy Bunting back, which is huge for that
Yeah.
secondary. Antonio Brown might be back as well, but having Gronk back, we saw Monday night, that was very key for them. I'm going with the Buccaneers as well. I just think that they're the overall better team. Colts are riding a little bit hot. I still think Jonathan Taylor is going to do very, very well because he's there, basically the only thing on that offense. But I like the Buccaneers to beat the Colts in this one, Joe. And now, arguably game of the day and probably the most important day or most important game in terms of the AFC playoff picture. We got the Tennessee Titans at the New England Patriots. Right now, the New England Patriots are a 6.5 point home favorite. The over-under is 44.5. Joe, thoughts on this game? This is huge for the AFC playoff picture. Thoughts, and who's your pick?
Yeah, this is a dangerous game for the AFC. I think that the Patriots are going to win this game, and I think it's going to be it's going to be looking rough for the rest of the AFC, who are not anticipating the Patriots to be a real contender this season and, have looked legit. I mean, Mac Jones is just executing this offense well. He's not turning the ball over, and he's just getting the ball out on time, not taking the negative plays, just really playing like a veteran. And this is a very good defense coached by Bill Belichick going up against the Titans offense that, we just talked about how, without Derrick Henry, they've really lost their identity. So I don't see Ryan Tannehill and, this pedestrian offense without Derrick Henry going up and putting up a lot of points against the Titans defense, or I'm sorry, against the Patriots defense. But, we have seen the Titans get some big wins against New England the past few years, most notably Tom Brady's last game as a Patriot. In the playoffs, Titans played great and, really shut that offense out. So is that defense going to be able to step up and keep this a low scoring game? I think that's the key for the Titans. If this defense can play well, keep it close, I think they'll have a chance. But, I think that right now I just trust the Patriots more. I mean, how can I trust the Titans after you just lose to the Texans like you do? That's what it
Yeah,
comes down to.
absolutely, Joe. I bet the Patriots to have under 9 wins. They're currently at 7. They still have a game with the Jaguars and the Dolphins. They played the Bills twice. They have the Titans. They also have the Colts in there. So this is a tough end of the season for the Patriots as well. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans as my upset of the week. I think they get it done. I think Vrabel is going to take down Belichick yet again. I think the key is that defense. We've seen this defense beat Josh Allen, beat Patrick Mahomes, beat Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams by forcing some turnovers, getting turnovers early. I think they're going to do that with Mac Jones. I think they're going to stop the run, get a couple of turnovers. And it's going to be an ugly game, Joe. It's going to be a low scoring game. I think the Titans pull this off as the upset of the week, and I need them to financially and for the Ravens AFC playoff picture as well. So I'm going with the Titans in this one. Now we're moving on to the 4 o'clock slate. We starting off in Denver. We got the Los Angeles Chargers at the Denver Broncos. Chargers are a 3-point road favorite. The over-under is 47. Joey D. Chargers coming off a big win against the Steelers at home on Sunday Night Football, going on the road to Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos, who have beaten the Cowboys and have beaten some decent teams. And so, thoughts on who's your picks? Chargers, Broncos.
Yeah, give me the Chargers in this game, Tim. I mean, Broncos are just not that good of a team. I just don't buy Teddy Bridgewater. I don't buy Vic Fangio. Their offensive line is not great either, pretty banged up. This is a team that's got some injuries, and just they just don't really. I don't see them, even really feeling like they have much to play for. I mean, I don't think they're
Mhm.
technically eliminated, but you know, what's the vibe coming
Right.
out of Denver? It's not great. I mean, is anybody thinking that the Broncos are about to go on a run and sneak into the playoffs? I don't.
Mm-mm.
Chargers, I just think are a much more talented team. They're playing better. They've got the better quarterback. I think that all the signs point to the Chargers in this one. But it's a divisional game. You never know. Vic Fangio, great defensive coach, could stymie the Chargers offense and keep it a low scoring game. But ultimately, I'm just not counting on Teddy Bridgewater to win an important matchup like this against a really good or young quarterback in Justin Herbert.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going with the Chargers as well. I thought about the Broncos as my upset of the week. I looked up the weather in Denver. It's actually going to be pretty warm. It's going to be high of 60, low of 42. If it was going to be freezing cold temperatures, maybe I go with the Broncos just because I think the Chargers are kind of Hollywood and LA, pretty boys, warm weather type of guys. But it's going to be a nice
Right.
weather day in Denver. So I'm going with the Chargers as well. I think Eckler is too good. Getting Mike Williams back was huge for the Chargers offense as well. So now we're moving on to a very important game for your Philadelphia Eagles, Joe, in the NFC wildcard picture. We got the Minnesota Vikings at the 49ers. Both teams are 5-5. Both teams are right there in the hunt in the playoff picture. 49ers are a 3-point home favorite. Over under is 48. Joey D, Vikings 49ers. Thoughts on who's your pick?
This is a tough one, Tim. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I'd like the Vikings to win since the 49ers beat the Eagles earlier this year and have the tiebreaker over them. And I don't love either of these quarterbacks. I mean, both of these teams are the Niners are a little bit more injured, I think, than the Vikings. And, the Vikings are just now starting to get hot. So I think I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. I mean, they've got a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence coming off that win over Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. So I think that the Vikings are just feeling good about themselves. They've got those two great receivers, and this San Francisco secondary just isn't great. So I think that the both Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson go off in this game, and the Vikings get the win.
Yeah, I think I got to go with the Vikings as well. And Debo and George Kittle are doing great for the 49ers. It comes down to that running game. I don't know who's going to be running back. They seem to all be banged up, seem to all be injured. So I'm going with the Vikings in this one. I think Mike Zimmer is going to have a good defensive strategy for either Debo or George Kittle. Let one of them go off, contain the other, kind of like with the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey. Okay, let one of them go off, but we're going to stop the other one. So I'm going with the Vikings in this one. Don't feel too great about this. I mean, this is kind of a toss-up game,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm just
There's a
going with
lot of those
yeah,
this week.
a lot of them this week. And
Could be a
now
big week for Timmy B to
it
come
could
back.
it could be. It could be. We're opposite on a couple of games, Joe. So we'll see if we're going to be opposite on this one. Arguably, one of the games of the day in the NFC. We got the Los Angeles Rams
Tim,
at
you've said that 3 times in a row now. You can't keep saying
Hey, game of the day in the AFC, Titans Patriots. Game of the day in the
that.
NFC is the Rams at the Packers. Packers are a 1-point home favorite at Lambeau Field. The over under is 48. Potential NFC playoff matchup. It was last year in the divisional round. The Packers ended up winning at home. We got Rams, Packers, Joey D. Thoughts and who's your pick?
with the Rams making all of these moves with um, Von Miller and Odell Beckham and losing Robert Woods, I just feel like the Rams have kind of gotten away from what they do well and lost a little bit of their identity. There's too many ingredients going on here, and the end result is not great. So I feel a little bit better about the Packers than I do about the Rams right now. These are both very good teams, and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey can absolutely wreck this game. I mean, Packers rookie tackle Elton Jenkins is injured and I think out for the year. David Bakhtiari's still not back, so Aaron Donald could take over this game from the D line. And if Jalen Ramsey holds Devontae Adams to or just limits him, then this could be a very close game. But ah, when I Tim, when I have to kind of talk myself into what that this team needs to have happen for them in order for them to win, I don't feel great about that. They need to have Aaron Donald needs to go off, Jalen Ramsey needs to go off, Matt Stafford needs to get back on track and figure out a way to get the ball to Odell Beckham. Maybe, I don't know. Is that the plan? I'm not sure. I mean, Cooper Cup is phenomenal, but if if he gets slowed down, who else is going to step up for the Rams? We just haven't seen that happen, especially with this Robert Woods injury, which I think is just so detrimental for the Rams. Yeah, I'll take the Packers in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers. Like my logic with the Chargers and the Broncos, it's going to be a little bit colder in Green Bay. It's going to be in the 20s this game. Rams are just LA, Hollywood pretty boys. They aren't going to be ready for the cold right now. I'm going with the Packers, especially after a loss last week. Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to bounce back at home. I expect the Packers to win. Going to be a close one. I think it will be a close one, but I'm going with the Packers and some home cooking. And now we got Sunday Night Football, another AFC North matchup. We got the Cleveland Browns at my Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are a 4.5-point home favorite currently. The over-under is 45.5. Joe, what are your thoughts on this game and who's your pick in the Browns Ravens?
Tim, I don't think Baker Mayfield is healthy. I think even when healthy, he falls into that category of a guy you win with, but not a guy you win because of. I mean, we've I think he was definitely overdrafted at number one, and it's a tough situation for the Browns with this offseason. Do they extend him or not? Because he's going to demand a massive contract,
Mhm.
just being the number one overall pick. I just don't think he's lived up to it, and just I think his attitude is it's not a good situation for the Browns. He's got a very bad attitude and something that I just don't want to hitch my wagon to Baker Mayfield right now, even when he's at his best, because of his personality that's getting in the way. I mean, I think it's all about him right now. Um, I just can't feel really good about this Browns team, even with Case Keenum, in there. I think they should bench Baker, let him sit, get healthy. They've got a bye coming up, and then kind of go from there and make their run. But I think even with Baker, without Baker, Ravens are just the better team and playing well right now. I mean, Ravens found a way to win without Lamar Jackson, without Marquise Brown. Um, it's Browns just they're just sending out very negative vibes right now, and just have been a big disappointment considering all the expectations for them going into this year. So I'll take the Ravens in this one, and I don't think it's going to be very close.
Yeah, Joe, the Ravens, we're in playoff mode right now. The rest of our season is Browns, Steelers, Browns, Packers, Bengals, Rams, Steelers. So not a very fun last couple of games, last 7 games for the Baltimore Ravens. This is a game that we absolutely need to win. It's at home, Sunday Night Football. We're wearing the all black uniforms, baby. I really don't feel good about this game. Our offensive line, we're banged up. We're not very good. We can't block if our life depended on it. They got Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney on the other side, and Lamar will be great. He'll make some plays. Hopefully, he's not sick again. But I like Lamar. I like our offense to do just that. It's going to be an ugly game, I think. The offensive line needs to step up big time. We need to throw the ball. And then defensively, we can't give up the big plays. We still don't know how to tackle, and we always end up giving up a big play. A couple of years ago, Browns came in. Nick Chubb ran for like 200, 250 yards, couple of touchdowns, just ran all over us. We got to make sure that we can contain Chubb. Kareem Hunt might be back. Same for Jack Conklin. Those are two big pieces for that Cleveland offense to come back. But I think at the end of the day, you nailed it, Joe. Baker Mayfield's injured, not doing as great. We saw the Patriots dominate the Browns, run the football. Good thing is the Ravens are pretty good at running the football if our offensive line blocks. They barely beat the Lions last week. If Jared Goff was the quarterback, who knows, man? I mean, Tim Boyle had a couple of bad interceptions. So I think it's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be an AFC North ground and pound type of game. I'm going with the Ravens in this one. I disagree with you. I would love it to be a blowout. Don't get me wrong. I think this is going to be a close game just because our offensive line and our defense always giving up these big plays. But at the end of the day, I think Lamar Jackson versus a very injured Baker Mayfield. And even though he doesn't want to admit it, he's very injured. I'm going with Lamar Jackson every day of the week against Baker Mayfield right now. So I'm going with the Ravens. And now Monday Night Football, last game of the week, and we alluded to this earlier when we were talking about the Seahawks. The Seahawks are on the road at the Washington football team for Monday Night Football. Seahawks are currently a half-point favorite. So again, a kind of a toss-up in terms of Vegas. Over-under is 46. Joey D, can Russell Wilson bounce back against the football team on the road? Or can Taylor Heineke do it again? Their offense is playing some pretty good ball recently.
Tim, I'm going to take Taylor Heineke this game. I feel like this is a classic game that Washington wins that nobody really expects them to. And then they go out and put up a stinker against, some bad team the next week. I mean, this is a game where, it just doesn't make sense on paper, but Washington always does this, especially towards the end of the year. They just mess up their draft spot as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not going to make a push. They're not the worst team in the league. They're going to be right in the middle, and they're still not going to have an answer at the quarterback position. So I've seen that play out before. I kind of see that happening again here. And, I mean, the negative vibes for the Seahawks are through the roof right now. I mean, 0 points? I mean, come on, Russell Wilson. My God. Like, this is bad. This is real bad. And I think that Russ is ready to get out of Seattle. I think you look at what happened this past offseason and all the drama that was kind of going on. I think that's starting to resurface now, and he's starting to mentally check out. I mean, we saw this last year with the Eagles and Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz. I mean, if your heart's not in it, if your mental's not right and you don't want to be there, that shows up on the field. And that's just the way the Seahawks are playing right now. I mean, this defense is not playing great. Russ is not playing great. The O-line is still bad. Chris Carson's out for the year. They're not going to be able to really run the ball. I mean, Washington's coming off a very emotional victory over the Panthers for Ron Rivera. And, I think that's something that the players can kind of rally behind and ride that momentum through this week and pull off a win that not a lot of people are probably going to pick them to win.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe. I'm going with the football team as well. So I think since Russell Wilson has come back, 0 points and very lackluster against the Cardinals defense at home in a game that they probably should have won, especially with Colt McCoy on the other side. So
no Kyler Murray, no DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm going with the football team to win this. I think the football team is making a push for the playoffs as well with the Eagles, which could be a very fun December in the NFC.
Let's not go that far.
Hey, 7 teams make the playoffs, so it's definitely possible that they can squeeze in there, especially with a couple of their wins. They beat the Panthers as well. They have a couple of wins, so definitely a possibility. But I think you're right.
All I know is the last time the Eagles and Washington played, the Eagles had to put in Nate Studfeld in order for Washington to get the win. So that was a game with nothing for us to fight for, and Washington with everything to fight for. They still almost botched it. I'm not worried about Washington, Tim. You can't scare me.
All right. Well, hey, they're still going to beat the Seahawks. They're still going to beat the Seahawks on Monday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're right. I think Russ has kind of mentally checked out. I think 3-7, you basically have to win the rest of your games to go, 9-8 or 10-7. I don't see that happening with the rest of the Seahawks schedule. I think they're done. I mean, given their division as well with the other teams ahead of them, Seahawks are done, done, done. And good news for the Jets. They have their first round pick. So that also helps the New York Jets as well. But I'm going with the football team. And Joe, to recap our Thanksgiving week, Thanksgiving game, we're opposite on the Lions and Bears. You got the Lions, I got the Bears. Raiders, Cowboys, you got the Raiders as your upset of the week. I got the Cowboys, and we both have the Bills in the night game. On Sunday, we're opposite on a couple of games. You have the Eagles as your lock of the week. I have the Bengals as the lock of the week, and I have the Titans as my upset of the week. But that'll do it for the Thanksgiving mega episode for week 12 of the NFL season on the Flea Flicker. Joey D, are you ready for Thanksgiving? What's your favorite dish? What are you most excited to eat?
Oh man, Tim, I'm a big fan of pecan pie. It's something
Ooh.
I don't have a lot, and I always look forward to on Thanksgiving. My younger brother, John Michael, his favorite dessert is pumpkin pie, so I know he's looking forward to that. We're big pie guys here in the Dennis household. Brooke, what's your favorite pie? Favorite pie? What? Brooke's favorite pie is pecan pie. That's why I married her, Tim.
Yeah, yeah, no, my
Among other
grandma.
reasons, I guess.
My grandmother makes an amazing pecan pie, so I'm with you on that. My grandfather makes an amazing oyster stuffing as well, so I'm definitely excited for some oyster stuffing and some pecan pie. But that'll do it for this episode. Joey D, any final words for Thanksgiving or week 12 of the NFL season?
Hey, let's, be thankful and appreciate the football while we have it, folks. I know it's not some great games on Thanksgiving, but we'll the season will be over before we know it, and we'll be craving, the Lions versus the Bears. Give me Tim Doyle versus Andy Dalton over nothing. So, we'll miss it. Appreciate the time that we have now, and just don't take any minute for granted with the football, with the food, and most importantly with all your loved ones.
Absolutely. Joey D, you said it best, and that's Joey D right there. It's really Timmy B. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Enjoy some football, enjoy some food, friends, family, all that stuff. Peace.